Hey everybody! In this video we're going to talk about extensions for Visual Studio Code. And the first thing I would like to mention is that some extensions are installed by default and some you need to install manually. For example, these 10 extensions, which you see on the screen, are some of the most popular and useful, but they are not installed by default. Don't worry, we're going to learn how to install and use them in just a minute. So, which extensions are installed by default? For instance, Emmet. Thanks to Emmet, you can write code much quicker. Here's an example. With Emmet, many things are easier. You see how quickly I'm connecting the CSS styles and some scripts. Or we can write UL greater than LI and then, in a pair of curly brackets, just add item $ multiplied by 6. And when we hit the Tab key, here's the result. This unordered list with 6 list items. Alright, let's go back to the top 10 extensions, which in our opinion every web developer should use. So the first extension is called Auto Rename Tag. Okay, so to install this extension, just click on this icon. And then in the search field we type in Auto Rename Tag. Here it is. Then we click on the Install button, and there we've just installed it. Now we can easily turn this unordered list into an ordered list if we'd like to. We change UL to OL, and the magic happens. The end tag was replaced to OL automatically, you see? Now let's change it back to UL. And again, the end tag was changed to UL automatically. Now let's create an H1 heading. And if we need to replace H1 with H2, we simply change it here, and that's it. The end tag was replaced for us. So, that's how the Auto Rename Tag extension works. Okay, moving on to the second extension called Prettier Code Formatter. This extension formats all your code in a standard way, and it keeps the code formatting consistent. Please notice that Visual Studio Code has another code formatter which is installed by default. But it only works with HTML code, and also there is no possibility to change its default settings. So let's install Prettier Code Formatter. To do this, we type in Prettier in the search box. We select it and click the Install button. Now, if we scroll down a bit, we see that to use this extension, we need to press a key combination, Command Shift and P, and then we have to type in Format Document. If you are a Windows user, just press the key combination, which you see right now at the bottom of the screen. Okay, let's do that. We open the HTML file, and now let's break the formatting to make it incorrect. For example, we place the tag UL and LI on the same line. Then we delete the spaces, which is called tabulation. As you can see, now the code formatting is not correct, and that is why we need to apply the extension. Alright, so to use the extension, we press the key combination Command Shift and P. For Windows users, press this combination. Then we type in Format Document. Here it is. Just click on Format Document. And we see the message that we are using several formatters for HTML files, because now we have two code formatters. The one which was installed by default, and the other one which is Prettier Code Formatter. So we click on the Configure button, and after that, right here, we select the extension Prettier. And as a result, now the code is nicely formatted. But pressing the key combination and then typing in Format Document is not really convenient, is it? It would be nice if the document is formatted as soon as we save it. And we can do that. So let's go back to the tab with the information about the extension Prettier. And then just scroll down a bit. As we can see, there is a special setting which is editor.formatOnSave. Okay, let's install it. To do this, we click on this icon and select Settings. Next we search for Format on Save. As we can see, there is no tick sign here, so we put it here and then close the tab. And now we're going to make the formatting broken. Then save it, and the document formatting is perfect. Let's see if it also works for CSS files. So we open the style.css file. Let's add font size 12 pixels. And then let's make the formatting broken one more time. Now save it, and the magic happens. We see a nicely formatted document. Awesome. Okay, moving on. The next extension is called stylelint. Stylelint prevents you from making errors in your style sheets. It reports bad code in your CSS files. So, this stylelint is a CSS syntax validator which we are going to install in a second. But before we do this, you need to know that there is another CSS syntax validator which is already installed by default. But we can't make any changes to its settings. However, for stylelint, we can customize everything by writing our own rules. Alright, let's install stylelint. So we search for stylelint. Aha, here it is. Click the install button. Good, we've just installed it. Now, how can we make it work? Well, to do this, we need to take several steps. The first step is to go to the folder with our project. In our case, it's the folder called Application. And then next to the index.html file, we create a file called .stylelint.rc. Please note that it's very important to have the file name exactly as I wrote it, .stylelint.rc. In this file, we're going to write our own rules for validating our CSS code. So where do we get these rules? The first way is to write them by ourselves. And the second way is to use the already written rules. Okay, let's go for the second way. So, we open the stylelint tab. Then simply scroll down a bit. And now click on the link, the stylelint startup guide. Then click on stylelint config standard. And select the file index.js. The next thing is to copy the code from the open curly bracket and up to the end of the file. And in the file .stylelint.rc, we paste what we've copied before and save it. Now we need to disable the default CSS validator. To do that, we click on this icon and select Settings. Then we search for CSS Validate, and we remove this tick sign. Finally, we need to restart Visual Studio Code. And then open the folder with our project. So in the style.css file, let's make an error. For example, replace the number 0 with the letter O. As a result, we see that now it is underlined in red. Then click on this icon in the bottom left corner. And as a result, this window was opened. As we can see from this window, there are some errors in the style.css file. In the second row, there's an error in the hex color. Let's fix this. And there, no problems have been detected in the workspace so far. Also, stylelint prevents unexpected whitespace at the end of a line. You see? And also, if we add additional space here, stylelint would tell us that there is an error. And in many other cases, this extension will help us keep our code consistent. Okay, let's head over to the next extension, which is called CSS Peek. This extension is really useful. With CSS Peek, you can easily find the CSS style you need whenever you work with HTML files. Okay, let me explain with an example. As you can see, in the CSS file, we have the CSS styles written for the class pageHeader. And then in the index.html file, we're going to add header with the class pageHeader. Now to see the CSS styles written for the class pageHeader, we have to go to the CSS file and then search for the necessary class. It's not really convenient. For now, we only have one CSS rule, but what if we had 100 CSS rules? Then it would not be convenient at all. But with the extension CSS Peek, we can turn this problem into a convenient solution. So let's install CSS Peek. Click on this icon and search for CSS Peek. Then click the Install button. Great, we've just installed CSS Peek. Let's go to the index.html file. So far, we see no changes to the file. After that, we press the Command key and the class name simultaneously. When you are a Windows user, press Ctrl and the class name together. Now we see that the class name is highlighted in blue, and we also see the pointer in the form of a hand. OK, click on the class name, and we are automatically redirected to the necessary class name in the CSS file. Then we add many lines of code before and after the class page header. In the HTML file, click on page header one more time. As you can see, we were redirected to the CSS file and exactly to the line where the CSS styles for this class are written. So this extension is a must-have for each web developer. Alright, the next extension is called Live Server. This extension is one of the most useful, because you can write code and see the changes on the web page without manually reloading it. So first, let's install the extension Live Server. Great, we've just installed it. And now, when we need to open a web page, we just click on this icon, Go Live. And voila! The web page is open. Let's make it smaller. And we make the Visual Studio Code window smaller as well. Next, in the style.css file, we add H2 color green. And save it. As you can see, we didn't reload the page, but the heading color is now green. Let's also add font size 20 pixels for list item. Save it, and the font size changed to 20 pixels. Cool. Now we don't switch between the browser window and Visual Studio Code, but we immediately see all the changes made to the web page. Alright, moving on. The next extension is very useful when you work with JavaScript. It is called JavaScript ES6 Code Snippets. Let's go to the JS folder and open the script.js file. We have a function called hello. This function has an argument n, meaning how many times the word hello has to be displayed in the console. Now let's add here, for instance, console.log hi. Well, it took some time to add this code, but with the extension JavaScript ES6 Code Snippets, we can speed up this process significantly. Okay, let's install it, and then I will show you how this extension makes our life easier. Here it is. Select it and click the Install button. Now, here we see a table with lots of different shortcuts. For example, to add console.log, we can type CLG. So let's check it out. We type in CLG, then click the Tab button, and there. So we add the word hi, and that's it. Another example. To add a setTimeout function, we can use another shortcut, which is STO, and then hit Tab. Then we can set the time for delay and call the function hello. As a result, in 2 seconds, the function hello3 will be called. To sum up, all these shortcuts speed up your work with JavaScript. Okay, the name of the next extension is Debugger for Chrome. With the help of this extension, we can see how a JavaScript program works, step by step and exactly in Visual Studio Code. Okay, let's install this extension and then I will show you how it works in practice. Now, in the script.js file, we replace the setTimeout function with hello3. We can debug our JavaScript code in the Chrome browser. So, we just set breakpoints, meaning where we want to stop the program and see the result. Okay, simply mouse over this column and set a breakpoint. This red point in the place where the program has to be stopped. Okay, we've just set a breakpoint. Next, click on the debug icon. Then here we choose Add Configuration, and then we select Chrome. After that, in the settings for URL, we need to set the port which is written here, port 5500. Save it, then we close this file. And don't forget to save the script.js file. Now to start debugging, just click on this green triangle. As you've already noticed, the web page was automatically opened and then the program was stopped when it reached the line with the breakpoint. By using these icons, we can see the program working step by step. On the left side, we see a panel with all information about the variables and how they change their values in the program step by step. By clicking on Step Into, the program moves to the next line. We see the word Hello in the console. Then click Step Into one more time. As a result, the value of the variable was changed to the number 1. So when the program is executed 3 times, we stop the program by clicking on this square button. So with this extension, it is much easier to find errors in JavaScript code. Alright, the next extension is called Bracket Pair Colorizer. Why do we need this extension? Let's suppose that we have code with incorrect formatting. As you can see, now it's not so obvious which curly bracket is an opening curly bracket and which one is a closing curly bracket. Visual Studio Code highlights the end curly bracket, but when there are many lines of code, it may not be so easy to notice that. So, to make it more convenient, we're going to install the extension Bracket Pair Colorizer. And as soon as we install this extension, we see some colorful curly brackets. When we put the cursor here, we see, with this yellow line, where the closing curly bracket is. If we set the cursor right here, then another colorful line appears, and we clearly see the closing curly bracket. So this extension helps to see where we forgot to add a curly bracket and fix it really quickly. The next extension is called Material Theme. This extension is more about your visual experience. There are different variants of themes, and you can choose the one which is the most suitable for your eyes. Okay, in order to see how it works, we install this extension. Here's the list of themes. By default, we have the Material theme. Then comes Material Theme High Contrast, Material Theme Darker, and so on. So depending on the theme, the workspace colors and styles change. Let's choose Material Theme High Contrast. So we open the JavaScript file, and visually it looks different from what we had before. Now to change the theme with another one, we click on this icon, select Color Theme, and then here, select the theme from the list. The last extension we're going to install is called W3C Validation. It is last but not least. By using this extension, you can check whether your code is valid or not, or in other words, whether there are some errors or not. Well, to work with this extension, we need Java Runtime Environment. I will show you this in a second, but first, let's install W3C Validation. As soon as we installed it, we see the message that we don't have Java Runtime Environment. To install it, we click on Get Java Runtime Environment. Then click on Download. Choose Accept, and after that select the file according to your operating system. We need to wait a bit while the file is downloaded. Now we open the file. And again, we open it. Then continue, install, and click on Close and move to Trash. Good. We've just installed Java Runtime Environment. In Visual Studio Code, we open our project and then open the index.html file. Let's make an error somewhere in the code. For example, let's write h7. We see that h7 is underlined with red. Now, in the bottom left corner, click on this icon. We've got the error message element h7 not allowed as child in element body in this context. And that means that W3C validator works. Now another example. Let's create an img tag and remove this alt attribute. And the error message is an img element must have an alt attribute. Let's create an input tag without a value for the type attribute. And we have another error message. So by using W3C Validator, we can validate our HTML code in Visual Studio Code. I hope these extensions will help you a lot in your daily web developer's work. Okay, that's it for this video. See you in the next one.